So this is going to be MorraGambit4 simply because I played it today and because I get more interest in these than any other videos that we put out there. I know the counts don't look high, but I see a different count from my video manager. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a game where some of the fundamentals of playing the MorraGambit come into play, because what the person does is they actually decline it, but in an unusual way. And there's no reason to decline the MorraGambit. Here's the MorraGambit as we begin. As you see, what they're doing is rather unusual. And I don't want to go through exchange of queens with people. Now they're declining it again. And I'm declining their declining by simply protecting. Okay, and now we get a big center and we get an advantage of about half a pawn. So we'll see what else happens. They're playing the computer recommended moves. It says e5 gives them a good game. Instead, this person's going to fianchetto, which is probably the problem all along. He didn't quite know what to do. He's some sort of dragon player, is interested in fianchettoing. So we're going to set up a kind of an interesting attack here. And really, the proper preparation for this attack is to play h3, because bishop to g4 kind of hurts our attack from the standpoint that we can't move our queen to d2 without messing up our kingside pawns. In this case, I ignored this. So ignoring it isn't the worst thing in the world, and you notice the players making the #1 computer moves, which is kind of suspicious. I ignored again, and now he should definitely play it because it pins it against the rook, and yet he moves his knight out, harassing my bishop. Now it says the right move is bishop to e2, which takes that whole thing out of play. And bishop to e2 is probably a better move than what I made. The bishop is not very valuable on the diagonal where it bites on granite on g6 like this. So at this point I make a bit of an error. I finally play h3 and look at the evaluation. So last move, it said I should be playing h3, h3, h3. We're going backwards now. See it jump dramatically. Now it wants him to retreat his knight to e8, because they're beginning to look at a threat of e5 here, and an attack on the d7 bishop if a capture happens. And that's a very strange move, and that kind of move is a little bit unexplainable to me. I'm not really sure what this person was trying to accomplish, but my response to it is a lot different than most players. The computer doesn't recommend anything like what I'm going to do, just to complete my development. I see it doesn't see anything terribly wrong with it. I'm still one up, even though it didn't recommend that in any of its iterations. Now I kick the knight because we're trying to unprotect the d5 square in case a pawn push comes, limiting the place where his knight can go. Now it says e5 is the right move, and it probably is. Instead, I go after his fianchettoed bishop, which once again only yields, 3/4, half a pawn up. Knight to a5. Curious that the computer likes that move again. Bishop to a2 I completely missed. Instead I went for tactical complications here, which we can't be sure are completely sound, but then again this is called unsound chess. And what we're going to do is we're going to move our queen out, and now it says if black plays properly he's going to get an advantage. So we're putting pressure on the a5 knight, we're threatening to back our queen up to h4 and move our knight to g5. Now when we get that formation finally accomplished and we're able to chase the f6 knight out of there, we have won game. So we can sacrifice a lot of stuff in the meantime, and I'm prepared to sacrifice the stuff. So now it says e5 is the #1 move, which I do make, and now he has to retreat to e8. And if he retreats to e8, there's an exchange of queens in the wind, and the wind is out of our sails, but it's very difficult for black now to find his way through these woods. So we're still prepared to back up our queen, move the knight to g5, set up that kind of situation where there's nothing he can do. Now, he makes what can only be considered a blunder here. Bishop to c6 is going to end up with two pieces attacked by pawns. So he panicked. And I took, these are all the #1 computer moves. Now it says he should just take the knight off, which he doesn't do, and he goes down significantly. So this is the end of the game. And now what we have is a mate in 2. And as you know, I miss these because I get so euphoric about the fact that I'm up so far. And now it looks like I could chase him with g5 check and a lot of other things, which also result in mate. But that's mate in 1 there, so I did find that. So this is a kind of an interesting way of attacking a fianchettoed position out of the Morra Gambit. And the opponent played an unusual response to the declination, but in the end he just dropped a piece, and that was kind of weak. So this person was overrated, I'd say, for what his rating